Hold up. Wait a minute. I wish you love, peace, and hair grease.
Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.
Yeah, you know I'm shooting straight from the hip.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Hey, everybody. What's up, Brooke?
Hey, Carla, how are you?
I am good. We are live. We're doing a live version of the Curvy Film Critic with Carla Renata today because me and Brooke got some things to say, honey. So for your first time joining me, this is the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I am your host, Carla Renata, and this is my guest, Brooke Obie from XO Nicole. We'll get into her in a second. What we do here is we talk about films and we do some live interviews like we're going to do today. And every once in a while, we will talk to people above and below the line in the film industry. Now, Brooke and I, and then later on after I let Brooke go, because, you know, she's still working, y'all. She's a working woman. After I let her go, I'm going to talk about 3,000 Years of Longing, Day Shift, and Look Both Ways. And I have an interview for you from that film and those stars. But Brooke and I had a little conversation. We were talking about Nope. And in our community, there's been a lot of conversation about Nope and what it is and what it ain't and who like it and who don't like it and all of that kind of stuff. And I just find it very interesting that for the most part, a lot of white people like Nope and a lot of Black people don't. But me and Brooke actually are kind of quasi in the minority about in the minority about that because we two of the few Black people that actually like the film. So for those of you who don't know, or you've been under a rock somewhere and don't know what the hell we talking about when we talking about Nope, let me just enlighten you. Nope is a film that it's a Universal Pictures film directed by Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele is a Black director who is notoriously known for his penchant to horror and thriller films, right? And so he has this new film called Nope, where it's two siblings running a horse ranch in California, and they discover something wonderful and sinister, in the skies above, while the owner of an adjacent theme park tries to profit from the mysterious otherworldly phenomenon, which we end up finding out about later in the film. So I'll let Brooke start out telling you about how she wants to break it down, and then I'll just kind of interject myself into the conversation. Welcome, Brooke, and thank you for having this conversation with me.
Thank you, Carla. You know, I always love talking to you about movies, so I'm super excited about Nope. I actually really, really loved it. I don't know that many Black people who didn't actually love the movie.
I know the opposite.
Really? Wow.
I know exactly the opposite, but continue.
So I think too, among the people that really loved it, one thing that we all had in common is that we saw it more than once. And I definitely think that second watch for me gelled everything. I had a lot of questions after the first time, and watching it a second time, I really felt like those questions were answered for me. So I don't know if we can spoil things on the show. I'm going to try not to give any spoilers.
You know what? We deconstructed the movie, so if you ain't seen it, poo on you. So we gonna have a discussion and talk about it.
Yeah. So I do have Jordan Peele's Nope Explained up on XO Nicole. It breaks the whole movie down from beginning to end. It's one of my favorite things to do is deconstruct Jordan Peele movies. But so for me, I think what was so powerful for me as a Black woman watching this movie and having Keke Palmer as the sister Emerald to Daniel Kaluuya's OJ, you have this Black family who is trying to salvage their personal family history. The first Black stuntman in Hollywood, the first movie star in Hollywood is this Bahamian jockey that nobody knows the name of because his name wasn't recorded. That's real history. So that running man on the horse, or the jockey riding the horse, that really happened. That was the first motion picture in Hollywood history that started everything. And we really don't know his name, but Jordan Peele kind of retconned the history there and made it the great, 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 great grandfather of Emerald and OJ in this movie. And I think their arc is what's really powerful for me, and I think is a message for Black creatives in this industry. So they have spent this time, they want to keep this family tradition alive, they want to keep this history alive, and white people are continuously kind of erasing it, downplaying it, and all of that. And so what they want to do is get a picture of this. They want to get the Oprah shot of this alien in the sky, so that their name and their family history will be like nobody can erase them. That's their goal. Nobody will be able to erase us once we get this picture. And I think their arc goes from that moment of needing Hollywood and needing, media approval and validation financially, and, just also mentally and emotionally, to be able to salvage that family history. It goes from that to the end, where Emerald gets the Oprah shot, but she also realizes, look, there's all these newscasters around. They probably got, shots of this. They're probably going to erase her again. They're probably going to erase all that OJ did to lure the alien to the place where you could even get a photo in the first place. And she leaves the Polaroid on the ground, steps away from it, and she's just looking at her brother, and she's smiling at him. And they had this, we see each other. Yes, motion they've been doing throughout the movie. And it's really, that she's smiling because it's like something is solidified there. We don't need white approval. We don't need Hollywood's approval. We don't need the media to validate our story. We see each other. We're going to continue to tell our stories. And we're going to continue to make the moves that we want to make without having to be consumed by this Hollywood industry that's just, going to tear us apart in the end, like it did their father. Their father was a casualty,
Absolutely. Now, since you broke down the whole sibling and the history with the Black cowboy things, because that's something that we discussed amongst ourselves, that I said I enjoyed too, because up until The Harder They Fall, the reboot film, because it was made previously in the 70s, folk didn't even know about Black cowboys. They didn't know about any type of Black person existing in that genre of time. And it always amazes me that folk think we just showed up in America during slavery. No, boo, we always been here. That part right there. So I want to talk about and deconstruct a little bit the part with Stephen Yeun's character. Because that part is really, it says so many things in so many different ways. So if you have seen the film, he plays a former child star who now has this ranch where he does a little bit of throwback to his time on that show. He's got like a whole museum in this little back corner of his office that he usually charges people to see. And then one of his co-stars shows up for his shows every day, and she has a little veil on, because what happens in the course of the show is a very popular show. Like, it probably today would equate to like Different Strokes or something like that during its heyday.
Or Alf
during its heyday, right? Because of the animal, right? So it centers around this monkey, Gordy, and there's a line that someone says where, animals aren't meant to be tamed. And baby Gordy has a moment where a balloon pops and he loses it. Now, I don't know. The thing that stuck with me is when that balloon pops, does Gordy think that's a gun going off? And maybe, when he was out in the wild, because all animals like that come from the wild at some point. When he was in the wild, was he running away from poachers? Was that a trigger for him? Hearing that gunshot? Go ahead. You want to say something?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it probably was, or at least a tranquilizer, the sound that you hear before you get captured. Definitely seemed like a trigger.
Yeah, and it felt like a trigger for him. So when he hears that sound, he loses it like you've never seen. Like it throws you back to like the Planet of the Apes a little bit, but on a more visceral level. Because, we can deconstruct the Planet of the Apes all day long. That's a whole nother situation. But you can tell that it's a whole visceral thing for him. And the thing that snaps him out of it is when he sees Stephen Yeun's character underneath that table. He sees him, and for a split second, he snaps out of whatever daze he popped into when that balloon popped off, and he goes to give their little signature fist bump, and then Gordy's taken out. And that leaves a stain on that young man for the rest of his life. Imagine being that traumatized that you see something like that as a child actor on set. That would make you never want to step on a set ever again in your life for any reason, to work or even to see anything. That struck me so hard because I work on sitcoms and I know what that structure is. And I've worked with child stars. I worked with Zendaya when she was a child star. So I know how that can seep into your inner subconscious and your core and do things to you that you don't even see coming, i.e., a lot of these child stars in the last couple of weeks have been coming out talking about how they were body shamed, talking about how they were mistreated, talking about all kinds of things that happened on that set. And there was a time where if you talked about any of that, it was taboo. You couldn't mention that. You couldn't talk about that. You would never work again. But these particular kids aren't working anyway, so they figure, what do they have to lose? But when I watched all of that in the film, my mind immediately goes there. And it also goes to, because it's a monkey that's being used, oftentimes Black people are likened to that animal for whatever reason. We are. And I go, and that line about an animal can't be tamed, it brings me back to slavery, where white people always want to tame us. And we're not animals to be tamed. We're human beings, right? But in this instance, it is an animal. And it wasn't about him necessarily being tamed as much as he probably had been mistreated on that set in ways the audience wasn't able to see, even his coworkers weren't able to see. And when that balloon popped, it was a trigger, and he was like, he just snapped. And I find that to be a euphemism for society today. When Black Lives Matter happened, folks snapped. Folk were like, enough is enough. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the microaggressions. I'm tired of the quiet white woman voice when you feel like you're being attacked because I decided that I'm not going to let you speak to me that way. All of those things. All of that happened for me in that little moment. I don't know if that happened for you, but it was like, oh.
So I just saw it honestly as, this is what happens when you take a wild animal out of their natural habitat and try to domesticate them, and for profit, especially. I mean, I think so. What Gordy's home and that chimp is really symbolizing is an actual event that happened with Charla Nash in 2009. So Oprah Winfrey actually interviewed this woman, Charla Nash, on her show in 2009. And the year prior, she had been attacked by her friend's chimpanzee. This chimpanzee had been a part of the family for years and years and years and years. And, he was always aggressive. And Charlotte was saying on the show, she was afraid. She was telling Oprah, she was always afraid of the chimpanzee because, sometimes they're wild animals and they're not supposed to be in your house and they're not supposed to be in a cage. And so this day, the chimpanzee had escaped. And Charlotte had tried to help her friend get the chimpanzee back in the cage. And he basically ate her face off. Same situation with Mary Jo Elliott. Yeah. Exact same situation with the character Mary Jo Elliott on Nope. And the veil that Mary Jo Elliott wears, it's the same veil that Charla Nash wore in the 2009 interview. So when they're talking about the Oprah shot, it's actually when Charla Nash lifted her veil for Oprah to see her face. But she wanted to do it on her terms. She didn't want to, just have her face out there because, she felt, very guarded. about her appearance after, having all these surgeries. But in Nope, that veil lifts up when the alien comes down and eats everybody. And so that's kind of, the throwback to the Oprah shot that they're referring to. But I really think that animal, I think Gordy was one of several chimps that they had. And it's just a thing that happens. And so you even look at the horses, all the horses that were used as bait that went to the alien. I felt like all of the animals that were used is really symbolizing everything that gets destroyed by the Hollywood machine. The alien is the Hollywood machine to me. And how many animals have been sacrificed for our own enjoyment, for our own pleasure, it's just, another consequence of that. You can't profit off of other lives. Like, it's really disturbing. And even when you're talking about child stars, I'm looking at, Jeanette McCurdy, who just came out with her book after everything that she went through on iCarly, and the way that, the issues that she had with her mom, the issues that she had with Dan Schneider, and all of these things that were happening. And it just really it should allow us to reevaluate why we employ child actors. Why are they working? For our enjoyment. It's the same with animals. Why are we making these people who don't actually have the space to make their own decisions about what they want to do quite yet, or know quite how it's going to impact them moving forward? Why are we doing this? Why do we, at least we should evaluate who we're sacrificing and why, for the sake of our own enjoyment and for the sake of profit. I think that's one of the messages that Jordan definitely wanted us to be considering through this movie.
It's interesting that you brought up Dan Schneider. Dan Schneider was for children's programming the way Chuck Lorre is for adult programming in the nighttime space. Like, they're equal in that respect. And I remember I never ever got hired for a Dan Schneider show, and I used to be really upset about that. I'm not now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also want to talk about the blatant influence of Jordan that permeates throughout this film, from his love of Rod Serling to Alfred Hitchcock and anybody else that seems to navigate in that space. Particularly, I apologize for this loud airplane. I know it sounds like I am being bombed and attacked.
You're fine.
You can see his influence with Rod Serling in the way when the thing, whatever it is, the paranormal phenomenon thing that's
Jean Jacket.
Yeah, Jean Jacket. Jean Jacket lurking up in the sky and not moving. Which, okay, let me do that first. So let's talk about, before I get to Rod Serling, let's talk about Jean Jacket lurking in the sky and how it's a cloud that never moves. Can I tell you that I look up in the sky every day, and there's always like a couple of clouds that like never change shape, they never move, and I'm like, is Jean Jacket about to do something? Is it about to go down? Do I need to look down at the ground? What's happening?
Listen, I went to Joshua Tree with some friends yesterday, and it looks exactly like Agua Dulce and Nope. So I'm like, we're all looking up at the sky like, this is a little too familiar. And there were definitely clouds in Joshua Tree that were very, very still in the sky. And I was just, I'm definitely not going to look at the sky the same way.
Yeah. But but to flip back around to the Rod Serling-ish of it all, the whole film feels very Twilight Zone-ish. Like, it feels like you're waiting for this ending and you don't know what it is. And then when it happens, you're like, oh, okay, that's it. You're like, that's all there was. But the one moment in the entire film that kept recurring, that gives me that Twilight Zone-ish kind of vibe, is whenever Jean Jacket would hover, those keys would fall out, right? There would always be these massive pieces of furniture, clunky pieces of furniture that would fall out, which was interesting because you never saw human remains. Never. It was always like a chair, a key, a railing, something like that. And then we learn later on that Jean Jacket cannot eat anything.
Digest, right.
Yeah, digest anything that is hard like that, like a flag or a chair, and that's why it gets dropped out or disposed of after a period of time. That made me laugh out loud. And then I also loved how he uses his music to tell the story too. Like he used that song, "Don't Wear Sunglasses at Night,"
Mhm.
because there were even if they wear sunglasses, if they look up, it's not going to help Jean Jacket from taking them out. But I love the influence of him, and you know me, and you know me well. Horror is not my thing. It is not my vibe. It is not my tribe. It is not my lane. But I can deal with a good thriller, and I can digest Jordan Peele's films because his films, no matter what kind of film it is in the horror genre, it will make you think and it will make you talk and it will incite some type of conversation. And when this bad boy hit, everybody has something to say all the time. It was mind boggling, the conversation that revolved around it. And I'm interested to see, as we move further and further into the award season, how much this film will stay in the conversation or if it will dissipate from the conversation. But I appreciate the fact that he has his influences and he uses them very strongly in his films. Particularly, you can see Rod Serling, you can see Hitchcock, you can see Steven Spielberg, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, with Jean Jacket and the way Jean Jacket is formed and all of that. You can see you can even see, I forget the name. There's an outer space from like the 50s. The way Jean Jacket with the object would fly in and out of the clouds. That was very like planet whatever from outer space flying in and out of the clouds. I love that.
There was also Jaws. I mean, I think
Yes.
that was really clear. And then you see, Stanley Kubrick. You see The Shining. I think he definitely had an homage to Kubrick in Us. But I also feel like it's here too, in the beautiful cinematography that we have here. But I think the filmmaker that I found most interesting, the commentary I think that Jordan Peele is giving us, is on Quentin Tarantino. So I am not a Tarantino fan. I don't watch his movies intentionally. They don't do anything for me. But Soraya McDonald over at Anscape, she had a really great analysis on how Nope is basically Jordan Peele's middle finger to Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So that made me go watch that movie. And it's so long and I suffered through it. But I do understand the point. And I think that was really great because Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Tarantino's really lamenting this idea of, the good old days of old Hollywood and the heroic white cowboy and how we're missing out on all these things and new Hollywood doesn't understand and they're losing our great history. And Jordan Peele's Nope is saying, nope, you have actually erased the real history of the cowboy. You've created this, white cowboy archetype and tried to lionize this figure as the hero. And this was actually a villainous act. This is actually violent erasure. And, you shouldn't be lamenting. You shouldn't be so sad about the end of this era. You should be trying to recover the actual history and share those messages and let go of all the white supremacist, sexist, racist, all of everything that old Hollywood represented. Like you should be a little bit more, encouraged by the fact that, those things in old Hollywood are dying. So I really, really like that analysis from Soraya McDonald.
That's a great analysis, and I'd never heard it. This is why I bring you to talk about these types of things, because you can articulate and you have a spin and a POV on these kind of things that never even entered my gaze. So I appreciate you breaking it down. Now I got to go see the movie again.
Yes. See, I regret that. I'll read the synopsis. It's so long. I was just like, he just doesn't do, it's like everything that he would do, everything that he wants to talk about, like I would talk about the opposite. So I'm not a fan at all, but read the synopsis. You'll get the point that way, but it's violent like all of his films. And it's just like, why?
But it's safe to say we are both fans of, April Whedon White said this is a great conversation. Thank you, April Whedon White. It is a great conversation, and this is why, because it's Brooke Obie. Brooke Obie is that doll that she and I, the one thing that her and I have in common unequivocally is that we both shoot straight from the hip. And if we strongly believe something or have a strong ideology about something, we don't back away from it. As a matter of fact, when I first met her, one of the first times we had these types of conversations was at a after party of a film at, I think it was
Bird Box.
huh?
It was Bird Box.
Yes, after the AFI Film Fest. And we were standing at that table debating, going back and forth against Bird Box. And Brooke is...
No, it was about Green Book. We were at Bird Box, but
we
we
were
were
at
talking
Bird
about
Box,
Green
but we
Book.
talked Green Book. You're right. And I was cracking up because the thing that made me laugh is you, like me, we both of us can be like a dog with a bone. If that's our bone and you trying to get like on the tail end of that bone, we like, no, sorry, you gotta go get your own bone. We were like, but the thing that I loved about us and our invigorated conversation is that as strong-willed and strong-minded as we are, we both at some point either agreed to disagree or we found points within the conversation where we did agree, but we appreciated the fact that both of us had different points of views and we respected each other for that. And that's why I always love having these conversations with you and talking to you about these types of films, because I know that you're going to have a point of view and a skew on it that nobody else is going to have. And it's going to be wacky and crazy, but it's going to, like Jordan Peele's films, it's going to make you think.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much, Carla. No, I always love talking to you.
Yeah, girl. So I'm gonna let you get back to work because I know you still doing your work day. And I didn't mean to keep you this long, but it was getting good. I'm like, I literally could go a whole hour, but I ain't trying to do you like that.
Oh, no, that's fine. But yes, anybody that wants to read the whole article of my breakdown of Nope, go on to exonicole.com. It's Jordan Peele's Nope Explained.
Yes, and tell people where they can find you on social media if they want to keep up with your opinions and your ideologies.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Brooke Obie, Instagram at Brooke Obie.
Cool. Thank you, sister. I will see
Thank
you soon.
you. Bye.
Bye. You guys, I love her so much. I really, really do. I love her to death. So let me get my other little thing up and we're going to get on into it and talk about what I was going to talk about today. Here I am. All right. So I said I was going to talk about 3,000 Years of Longing, and I was going to talk about Day Shift on Netflix and Look Both Ways. And I have Lily Reinhart and Danny Ramirez from that film. So let's get into that, shall we? All right. So 3,000 Years of Longing. This is a film. Oops. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. 3,000 Years of Longing. This is a film that stars Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba. Well, I have a picture in here. Oh, here we go. There we go. And it's going to be in theaters on August 26th. So that's 4 days from now. And it is directed by George Miller. Now, this is the thing about this movie. It's an interesting film, so I'll just give you the synopsis. While attending a conference in Istanbul, Dr. Althea Benny, who's played by Tilda Swinton, happens to encounter a jinn who offers her 3 wishes in exchange for his freedom. This presents 2 problems. First, she doubts that he's real, and second, because she's a scholar of story and mythology, she knows all the cautionary tales of wishes gone wrong, and the jinn pleads his case by telling her fantastical stories of his past. Eventually, she's beguiled and makes a wish that surprises them both. Now, what I will tell you about this film is it's a romantic film in the most original kind of way. And to see Idris Elba playing a genie is hilarious because he's like a big old hulky genie with like some pointed ears and whatnot. But it's just a beautiful, beautiful film. And Tilda Swinton, I kind of love her in anything and everything because she just has a way of inhabiting characters that give you this, I don't know, it kind of just gives you this feeling of serenity, so to speak. Like there's this aura with her when she plays characters that you just feel like she's of the worldly. She just has a whole different energy than most actors I've ever seen. I saw her earlier this year in a film called Memoria. And in that film, it was literally like 12 lines of dialogue, if it was that. I'm trying to find this thing about her. While I'm talking about her. But it was that film was it was crazy, and the fact that there was 12 lines of dialogue was crazy too. But um, this film with her and Idris Elba, I really enjoyed it, and most people are gonna poo-poo it because they're not gonna understand it. But I feel like it is beautifully shot. I feel like it gives you a beautiful message. I feel like it is one of those films that will make you think twice about what would you do if you got three wishes. Would you wish for materialistic things? Would you wish for happiness? Would you wish for love, thinking that is happiness? Would you wish to save someone's life? And if you wish to save someone's life, would you save the genie's life or would you save your own? And that is the biggest message of that film. Um, yeah, that is the biggest message of that film. What would you do if you were given three wishes? What would you do? And how would you use those three wishes to your advantage? The chemistry between these two stars is combustible, which when you think Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba, you would not think chemistry. But I'm telling you, the chemistry is off the chain. And I walked away feeling kind of warm and fuzzy. This film is not going to be for everybody. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's not going to be for everybody, but for the people that get it, they're going to love it. Again, it's called 3,000 Years of Longing, and it's directed by George Miller, starring Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba. Now, Day Shift is on Netflix, and it stars Jamie Foxx and Snoop Dogg and Carla Souza, who y'all will know from How to Get Away with Murder. She played Lauren on How to Get Away with Murder, and Megan Good is in this too. The script is hilarious, and it's directed by J.J. Perry, and it's about this hardworking dad played by Jamie Foxx, who's out to provide for his daughter using a boring pool cleaning job as a front, but his real gig is hunting and killing vampires. Y'all, the opening sequence with him trying to kill this zombie grandmother, when she throws up on him and like black throw up, I was out. I was like, deuces, I gotta go. And y'all know I don't do the zombies. I can't with the zombies and that kind of stuff because it just gives me nightmares. So I was like, and deuces, I'm out. And then I was like, okay, let me watch it a little bit more. And then I watched it a little bit more. We got Snoop Dogg in like Western garb, and he's giving us all of that. And they in LA giving us, black vigilante uh zombie killers and all that. But people that like campy, funny, you love Snoop Dogg, they got a hip hop soundtrack that's featuring Dr. Dre and Tupac and a bunch of the oldies. If you love all of that, you're gonna get your entire life with Day Shift. But Day Shift was not for me because I just could not with the zombies and whatnot. So that's it for that. So again, it's Day Shift. It is streaming right now on Netflix. The next film and the last film I'm going to talk about today is a film that deals with, it's called Look Both Ways, is what it's called. It's called Look Both Ways, and it stars Lily Reinhart and Ramirez. And it's like where, and as you see in the poster, it says, "Wherever life takes you, let love guide you." This is a story about a young woman who they look at her life from two different vantage points based on the choices that she made, right? She made a choice she could have made a choice to be a mom, or she could have made a choice to go to California with her friend and pursue her lifelong dream of being an animator. And they show what happens in both instances when she makes those choices. They kind of split screen it and do it. I know, April, Snoop Dogg, what? I know. I'm just going to backtrack for a minute. Snoop Dogg is like in Western garb in a zombie movie. I just need you to absorb that for a second. Okay. Thank you for tuning in for the conversation. Just absorb that for a second. It's bananas. Anyway, back to Look Both Ways. So you get to see what her life would be like if she had become an animator and came to California, and you get to see what her life would be like if she didn't become an animator and ended up getting pregnant and has this baby and has to try to co-parent with this guy that she never really loved in the first place, but after a while discovers that she's madly in love with him. So I sat down and I talked to the stars Danny Ramirez and Lily Reinhart about all of that. So take a look and a listen to this interview with both of them from Look Both Ways, which is streaming on Netflix. Well, hello, Lily and Danny. How are you?
Good. We love this vibe.
Oh, thank you. I love it too.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed you guys in the film. And Lily, I don't know if anybody's ever told you, but has anyone ever told you that you bear, she's like, let me brace for it. You bear a really strong resemblance to Brittany Murphy.
Yes, you are the 8,000th person.
I really didn't need to hear that today.
No, I very much take it as a compliment. Yeah. I think she's.
I've heard people like make that reference several times, and every single time you take it as an amazing compliment.
Yeah, it's a compliment, of course.
Yeah. So it's totally a compliment, and that's why I bring it up, because I loved her. I thought she was amazingly gifted, especially with comedy, and I feel the exact same about you. But you have a little bit more going on than Brittany did, because you are able to straddle a line that I never had an opportunity to see in her work because her career was cut so short. So having said that, and Danny, I just saw Top Gun yesterday. Good job, boo. So having said that, this film, Look Both Ways, is about how in life you have to make a choice, right? Life is all about choices. You either have this choice or you have that choice. And as Natalie and Gabe, you guys had some serious choices to make. I know for me, I wanted to be an Olympic skater, but my knees weren't going to let that happen. So having said that, what do you think your life would look like today if you had made a different career choice?
Well, it would look a hell of a lot different.
Yeah.
I mean, because I had balanced the idea of doing multiple different things in my life. I grew up, like, when I was in first grade, I said I wanted to be a dentist for the longest time. You know why? Because I wanted to wear a mask and gloves, and look at where we are in the world today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, weird. I don't know why I wanted to be. I was just like, I want to wear the glove. I don't know, weird kid. So, wouldn't have been the right life for me. But I think as I
own a lot of gloves. It's still somehow permeated into your wardrobe.
And why you calling Lily out? You ain't right. You calling Lily out. Just putting all her tea in the street. How about you, Danny? What different career choice would you have made? You're not right. I'm just gonna act like you didn't say that. How about you?
Well, I think every time that I'd watch anything, I'd want to be whatever that was. So when I watched Too Fast, Too Furious, I was like, I'm gonna be a street racer. And when I watched Boston Legal, I was like, I'm gonna be a lawyer. And when I watched Lie to Me, I'm like, I'm gonna be like a lie detector person. And so whatever that was, I think it would.
That's a good point. Like,
when I dive into something, I think I would have gone full tilt at it and like been in that field. Whether successful or not would be a different question, but I definitely would have dove into so many different possibilities, which is why I appreciate being an actor and a storyteller.
Because you can play whatever
you
want.
Everything, yeah.
Natalie was having a little bit of a depression moment going on. So I'm just wondering if either one of you have been in a situation where you suffered from that. And as an actor, because our lives are so like this, how have you been able to navigate that? I'll start with Danny this time.
As an athlete prior, there's just like we always have, there's two deaths of an athlete, the moment that they hang up the cleats and then obviously when they pass away. And but for me, like hanging up my cleats was a moment that I was like, my identity felt like it had definitely shifted. And that time after that was like of just trying to regain like identity in the first place as to how I was in relation to the world was a big tough moment. And so I think that when I look back at that, I look at that as one of the times that I was probably the most depressed. And then coming out of that was then I think during like at NYU, like doing all these darker classical characters of just like, while still building up the identity of like I went from that to then like now I'm an actor. And so just like with that spiral of stuff and being so young in the game, I think those are two really tough moments that I could see why, and it's just like my feet weren't nowhere to be found.
How about you, Lily?
I unfortunately deal with depression a lot in my life and anxiety, but I find honestly acting to be such a saving grace for me. I think that's why it worked out for me, because it's the one thing in my life that has truly just brought such bliss for me and joy. I just get such joy from doing. I'm so fortunate to do what I love as a job. It's genuinely a pinch me moment that I'm able to sit here and talk about a film for work, and that I get to play characters. I play make believe for a living, and that's to me it saves me and keeps me going and just fills my heart to the fullest extent. So I'm very thankful for my job to lift me out of those moments. When I feel depressed or sad, I can immerse myself in work. When I do a lot of work on myself, therapy, all the things, but to have work to really fully sink my teeth into is a big saving grace for me.
Well, y'all gave me bliss watching you inhabit these two characters. They were so full and rounded and full of love and joy and realism. I enjoyed it so very much. And thank you so much for giving me a little bit of your time today. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
All right. So you guys, I think I'm gonna wrap this one up in a nice little bow because we've been on for about 45 minutes almost. So I want to encourage you, and I want to thank Lily and Danny for their interview. I want to thank, and so check out their film, Look Both Ways, which is streaming on Netflix. I want to thank Miss Brooke Obie from XO Nicole. You can find her on Twitter and Instagram. She is on the Twitter, I believe, as, let me see, what is she? Hold on, let me find out. She's on Twitter as, I think she's on Twitter as Miss Honey, and she's on Instagram as Brooke Obie, and her name is spelled Obie. And check out her deconstruction of Nope on the XO Nicole site. And XO Nicole is spelled XONECOLE. I also want you to check out, for you zombie fans, those of you that like the Walking Dead and all that jazz, you're going to love some Day Shift. And check out 3,000 Years of Longing, which is coming to theaters on August 26th. Also check out Dragon Ball Z. You can find the review on that. I finally got it together. Dragon Ball Superheroes is now streaming and in theaters. You can catch that as well. And I forgot to tell y'all, I always talk about what I did the week before. And what I did the week before is I attended the AFCA Awards on Saturday, which was at the SLS Hotel here in Los Angeles, where they honored Abbott Elementary, A Black Lady Sketch Show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and many other shows. But I ran into Robin Thede, who is the showrunner for A Black Lady Sketch Show, and we tee-heed about a couple of things that consistently happen to her every time I see her at an awards show. And we look blue and purple because I guess the light in the room was blue and the flash wasn't exactly giving us flash. So, but it's kind of cute. It kind of matches the little vibe I have on the screen. And I also ran into Kim Coles. She's a dear friend. I met Kim Coles when we did an episode of Frasier when I first moved to LA, and she was Dr. Mary and I was Louise. So Dr. Mary and Louise reunited at the AFCA Awards over the weekend. And then after the AFCA Awards, I hopped on over to the SoFi Stadium and caught the Chargers and the Cowboys play, where unfortunately the Cowboys whooped the Chargers behind. But it was really nice to go and hang out in the suite there, and that was courtesy of the Chargers and Mr. Kevin Gacy. So thank you, Mr. Kevin Gacy and Miss Alana Walker, who hooked it all up. So having said all of that, y'all, oh wait, I see some people talking to me. Oh, that's April. Your stunt coordinator on AB. What's ABLSS? April, what is that? And you said I get to go everywhere, girl. No, not everywhere. Robin Thede, Snoop Dogg. Oh, you talked to and you said, wow. So tell me what ABLSS is so I can tell people what it is and tell them to check you out in that. Just tell me what it is. So I'm going to wrap it up, and I'll wrap it up after April tells me what ABLSS is. Because I don't want to let y'all go without telling you what that is. Maybe she'll hit me back. Maybe she won't. But while she's doing that, if this is your first time joining me, give me a big thumbs up to let me know that you were here. Click that bell for notifications if you are on the YouTube, A Black Lady Sketch Show. Okay, so she does the stunts for A Black Lady Sketch Show. Get it, girl. Yes, they won big over the weekend at the AFCA Awards. They won real big. But click the bell for notifications if you're on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you're watching this via Twitter and LinkedIn. I know that April is joining me via LinkedIn. So thanks for checking in, sis. And thanks for talking to me through the app. I appreciate you listening, because on this app I can type, but it only lets me respond to people that are watching via YouTube. When I type a response in the chat here for LinkedIn or for Twitter, it's not seen on those platforms. But thanks for checking it out, and thanks for joining me. So in the meantime, child, we still got this daggone monkeypox and COVID and all these other things happening. Thank you, April. I appreciate it. I'm so glad that you liked the show and that you watched it. So we got all these things that are still out there. So wash your hands, stay safe, be vigilant. The next couple of weeks, I'm going to focus on a few releases that are coming out and give you a teaser of what's about to go down at the Toronto International Film Festival, as I will be making my way there, because there are lots of films with Black people in them that are showing. Tyler Perry has a film there. Viola Davis is bringing The Woman King there. There's Ava DuVernay's documentary Sydney's going to be there. So there's lots of content with us, and I'm looking forward to talking about all of that. I know, Lord have mercy. I'm looking forward to talking about all of that and bringing you some more information about all of it when I come back. But that's what's going to be going down the next 2 weeks. And I'm not sure if I'm going to try to do a live stream from Toronto or not. I will let you know as we go along. But until the next time, stay safe, stay sane, love, peace, and hair grease, and deuces, baby.